Yes, he just came on and said he had a comment. I heard him pretty well.
Okay, Steve, just so that you're aware of it, for some reason I'm not copying you where others are, so perhaps we can relay that for Andrew. WJAB, would you repeat that, just what he said to me, please?
Yeah, he just asked. He said he had a comment. So if you hear me there, Steve, just go ahead with that. How would you like?
Yes, Jay, my comment is that the Quadnet array is not performing up to snuff this morning. I know that because I have two connections on the XLX307 reflector and on the Grandmeister talk group 31012. And I am only hearing transmissions from UJ on Grandmeister and variably others. So perhaps it is on my end if I'm the only one in this situation. But I wanted to make you aware of my observation. K3FZT.
I got 100% of that. Did you hear him that time, Jay? And it's not all repeat.
QSL, I copied there was sort of the percent of that last echo. Well, let's continue on with the net here since it's time to sign in with the realization that there could be some performance issues, either at location or from the coordinate array itself. So, to be determined. But it's wonderful to have the technology available to use. But if you do start to make presentations, of course, check in. And then once you're checked in, you can assume that I'm able to copy you. Otherwise, make your initial conversations very short in nature for that confirmation.
Break W5SLG.
This is A. Warfel. We're going to take a few minutes. You have a comment?
This is the W5SLG wires examine for the coordinate array. Looking at the transcoders, there does not appear to be a problem anywhere, but I am noticing a lot of fast keys there, so I advise everybody, please key and pause for a few minutes and wait, and then afterwards, with the same thing when you finish your transmission, after you finish the last data stream, continue to hold it for a few seconds and release it. That way, the data stream has all the servers. The servers are located in different parts of the country, so if you fast key, you will definitely lose data. W5SLG, carry on.
Thank you very much for that information, and we'll announce that or restate that here for the initial housekeeping as we start the net. We appreciate the input, and we do appreciate you being here to be responsive to our questions, and we do appreciate the technology and the hard work of all those that work as administrators. And this is a for and good morning, good afternoon, or evening, depending on where you're located. Welcome to the Marco Digital Voice Net, the Medical Ambulance Radio Council Net, that is. This is AA4FL, and my name is Jay. I'm Net Control for this session and the purpose of our net is to provide a discussion forum for current medical issues and events. And we will present topics as members, but we're also not limited to members who are located all over the nation and internationally, but others are welcome to join the net and participate, so don't feel shy. Wait one. So this is a directed networking from a login list, and calls will be made to me to net control. And I'm today located in Hawthorne, Florida, near Gainesville, Florida, in North Central Florida. I do have NetLogger up, and the NetLogger does have also an instant message window available for comments. I see that Hilton has already, PY2BBQ, put up a link, and his link to the live stream of today's net is up and present if you're on NetLogger and would like to use that. So thank you very much, Hilton. Wait one. Okay, I also am monitoring the IM here from NetLogger, and I see we do have some that are also monitoring, and that is wonderful. We encourage that. If we're at some time, those of you that are monitoring would like to get involved in the dialogue, have a chance at conversation, please just let me know, and we'll get you up and running. We meet every Saturday at 1500 UTC through the link repeaters. As just mentioned from W5SLG, one of the administrators of the net, it's very important that you allow some time, that you pause after unkeying, and before keying again, let everything resynchronize, because we're dealing with computers and networks all over the world, and they have to have time to do such. And so we might get better performance issues if we would just pause shortly. So if there's any stations that have emergency or priority traffic for the net right now, go ahead and call the net control myself, AA4FL. Okay, as net control, I did not hear any responses to that, so I'm sure neither have you. But mobile stations are stations that won't be able to participate in that, but have important comments they'd like to make now before they depart, or announcements. Please go ahead and do so now. And hosting stations that have rare digital lockout features, go ahead and enable them to prevent doubling with other stations. And again, as W5SLG presented, don't tailgate when you're using the Open Quad TV network. After keying up, leave a 2 or 3 second gap before speaking. I will allow the link repeaters and hotspots to synchronize with the reflector and other repeaters in the network. So you're asked to check in using voice. NetLogger is up. You can certainly monitor NetLogger, but we don't have it set up for extended check-in. If you're not acknowledged, just try again the next time, and we will allow time for late check-ins as well. But before we go ahead and start doing our roundtable discussion, let's go ahead and have regular check-ins. Go ahead and make your call this time. Here we have no regular check-ins listed at this time, additional check-ins. The ones I've already checked in as myself, AA4FL, N3IM, N5RTF, N9OML, K3FDT, WJ8B, PY2BBQ, And of course, the administrator W5SLG stopped by, and KB0LZ is monitoring. At this time, before we start with any other discussion about COVID and such, we're fortunate to have Chip N5RTF back on the air with us, or being active again post Hurricane Ida. So I'm going to go ahead and let you take the mic, Chip, and tell us all about the hurricane and let individuals ask you questions afterwards. So you may ask them to direct questions to you when you're done with your comments. Go ahead, N5RTF. It's an AA4FL.
Give me about another 5 minutes to get settled, and I'll go on to somebody else first. Thank you.
I copy that, Chip, N5RTF. Desiring a little bit more time, let others take the mic, so you can get everything settled in. I realize you're just getting your internet back. You have other hurricane-induced responsibilities and technological challenges, so we'll be more than happy to do that. And 3 a.m. Keith, how are you doing this morning?
Well, it's a beautiful sunny day out this morning, and the temperatures in the low to mid 60s. Humidity's up about 90%, but it is cooling down up here from the previous weeks when it was in the 90s and 100s. So we didn't have any problem with Hurricane Ida at this end. I know southeast and eastern Pennsylvania had significant problems, including tornadoes. I have nothing new to add as far as Pennsylvania is concerned. We're still open, at least up here. We've had a few additional cases, but schools, particularly college, is back in session, so I don't know how many of them are college students. Other than that, everything's going fine up there. This is N3IM, that's AA4FL.
Once again, thank you for being with us today, Keith. It's always a pleasure to hear your voice. I really miss getting together in person, and hope by the time that Ham convention rolls around, we'll correct that inadequacy and do some, not just eyeball to ourselves, but some quality time together, both to the Political Language Radio Council booth and in social activities as such. Ken, nice talking to you. And OML, Howard, what is your perspective of what's happening in the Chicago area? Go ahead.
Good morning, Jay, and everybody on the net. Nothing really new here. We were not part of the hurricane story, fortunately. Terrible work out of God. We're not part of the fire story. There are other parts of the country. And COVID and gun violence, unfortunately, both seem to be running about the same. So I don't think there's any, there's no big drama, there's no big change in anything that we've discussed and been reporting on. They are talking about some RSV cases, but likewise, that too hasn't been a big story other than a few will there be problems when the kids return to school. I'm afraid that's all I've got. I'm good, I'm not so good, but it's the way it is. I hope everybody's well and enjoys the weekend. I'll be continuing to monitor throughout the net, and I know now. Not control.
Thank you, Howard. And hearing COVID and gun violence in the same tone is disturbing enough. I had personal confirmation of that. My niece just started her residency in emergency medicine at Northwestern, knowing that she would have a very dynamic experience in addressing the nature of that particular medical specialty or subspecialty. So that's given me a chance to come up and visit you firsthand. Of course, she's insulated from the severity of a lot of this because she's living, right up on North Michigan, not far north of the water tower. But that's a personal note. K3SCT, Steve, we heard Pennsylvania described regionally in some areas being affected by the hurricane and the associated weather. How are you doing on that front and on the COVID front? Go ahead.
AA4FL and the group. This is K3FZT. Well, on the COVID front, things are pretty much status quo ante. Local pharmacies and CVS chain pharmacies are essentially allowing anyone who walks in to get a booster, and I guess those of us who are over 70 count as elderly, and let me just say, many of my elderly friends have been availing themselves of that option, with many complaining of 36 hours of lost time post inoculation for diffuse muscle aches, joint pain, lassitude, and general ill feeling, with recovery pretty typical after 36 hours. So that's all I have about COVID. I do have a few comments about the weather. Let me put another nickel in the meter. Okay. In my little corner of northwest Philadelphia, we were extraordinarily fortunate. My weather station reported 4.8 inches of rain, which is much less than some other areas. The Downingtown, Coatesville area to my west, by about 15, 18 miles, reported over 10 inches of rain. Most notable were for this area, a large number of tornadoes. There were over 7 tornadoes reported in Gloucester County, New Jersey, just over the state line, and a little south of Camden. There was an EF3 tornado that did substantial damage to property, and I believe there was one death associated with it. In a town called Mullica Hill, which happens to be the location for a major ham fest a week from tomorrow, Sunday, September 12th. So quite a bit of traffic disruption in the Philadelphia area due to flooding of major highway, the 676 Line Street connector, became a canal. There are videos of people diving off the overpasses that cross that highway into the renamed Vine Street Canal. It had been pretty much pumped dry yesterday, late afternoon, and was supposed to open to traffic again today. So, lots of damage, lots of water, and let's just leave it at that. More tornadoes this year already than in many decades in the Philadelphia five-county area, many past decades in the Philadelphia five-county area. K3F ZT.
Thank you for that description, Steve. I was able to copy all of that here, and we extend our condolences and concerns for all those affected, not only in Philadelphia, but since we don't have anyone here with us today from the metropolitan New York area of New Jersey, from the extreme weather ramifications and deaths that occurred up in that region. Unprecedented to date, and that's something we'd like to, a story we'd like not to hear repeated, but I had anticipation next time. I don't know how much better preparation, but there certainly will be a lot of concern and avoidance in that regard, knowing historically now what's possible in a short period of time. I've heard of the rain. Let's see now, let's check back with Chip M5RTF to describe the New Orleans experience. Chip, is this a good time for you to continue? Go ahead.
Jay, AA4FL and the group and 5RTF. Yeah, I appreciate the pause. I had to, I was walking the dog when you called on me. I was afraid to try to do three things at once. Well, we just got through a major hurricane again. If y'all remember Katrina, that was exactly 16 years ago to the day that Ida came ashore. Katrina was mostly a water storm. Our levees broke, the city flooded. This one came into the west of us instead of the east. It was a wind event, and we were doing pretty well sealed up here in our condo. The building was shaking, and we could hear the wind howling and all that. But everything was going pretty well until Saturday night when the power went out, and that's extremely rare in the French Quarter because we have underground power. What happened, we found out shortly, was that one of the huge transmission lines that spans the Mississippi River pulled its tower into the river. So the major transmission line feeding the city went down, and it caused a cascading failure of the other 7 lines that were coming into the area. So the entire metropolitan area, plus a lot of southeast Louisiana, all the way up to Baton Rouge, lost power all simultaneously. What we suffered personally was very little, except just inconvenience. We had a generator that we cranked up the next day, kept the refrigerator going, and a few fans. The biggest problem over the past week for us has just been getting gas. I've stayed in a line for 4 hours on Wednesday. Got within 2 blocks of the gas station, and they ran out. Then I went again yesterday morning to Costco. In the meantime, some friends had brought us a couple of cans of gas to use for the generator, but they were only about 4 gas stations in the entire city of New Orleans that were open. And you would think that would be something, a gas station would definitely have a generator, but it seemed like almost none of them did. So that's something to think about for the future. But it's been an interesting week, like they all are. And I went back to work yesterday, but I think we'll probably by next weekend everybody will have their power back, the internet back, and things back to normal. And of course, still right at the peak of hurricane season in 5 RTF.
Professional attention and other medical attention is going to have to be diverted due to the needs of post-Ida hurricane and COVID at the same time. Go ahead, Chip, and 5RTF AA for us.
I actually choose to leave after this, but I won't know. It'll probably be, I would say maybe by November, I might have a good handle on exactly how it affected the most people I work with in 5 RTF.
Well, thank you for explaining that, the delay and the stresses that accumulate, and we look forward to that being part of our dialogue here on the Medical Image Radio Council DVNet, because we do go well beyond just COVID. And as we hear from others here in your presentations, if you would mention if local surgery had to be postponed due to levels of COVID enrollment in your local hospitals. Next on the list, WJ8B, Andrew here. Good morning, Andrew.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Matthew to hear everybody. And I'm certainly glad to hear that Chip's on the air and he's trying to get back to normal. And we have another good friend that lives in the New Orleans area, lives in Metairie, and he's a retired pediatric pathologist. So, but, anyhow, here in Ohio, we have 2.5 inches of rain out of the remnants of Ida. Well, half an hour and a half. So our creek was quite high, but did not get in the house. Otherwise, we were relatively unscathed from that. We actually had more rain from the remnants of Fred, and especially when I was over in that Western Maryland, it lasted almost a week. So, as far as COVID, it's quite active here. Hospitals are very busy, some to the point that they have canceled elective stuff, especially the rural hospitals. My daughter is an ICU nurse, and she works in the evening shift. There's 6 nurses permanently. She's one of those interim open foot because couldn't put up with the increased schedule. So she is working lots and lots of hours, and nearly all COVID. That's down in Athens, Ohio. It's about 90 miles southeast of Columbus here. And so there's an issue there. I did read one thing of slight interest. Someone's described a new variant, which I guess has been around a little while, called the MU variant.
apparently has just discovered in Colombia. It's been discovered in other places. Right now, there's not enough data to say whether it's as bad as Delta or really what the infectivity is. Apparently, the numbers are very low at this point in time. So it's sad to see travel and everything dip because of the surge, but what else can you do? It's sad to see that more people didn't get on the vaccination bandwagon sooner. So back to you, Jay, for the WJP.
Thank you, Andrew. We appreciate you being here and your participation. In the context of what you just mentioned, of the variant in Colombia, Hilton, DY2BBQ, you're next on the list, and could you please provide a South American perspective as to what's happening with COVID? Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Hope you can hear me fine. This is PY2BBQ Hilton from São Paulo. And yes, we have some news. Let me just adjust the level of the microphone here. Well, what I can say about the COVID-19 in Brazil is that although the Delta variant is the dominant here right now, it did not translate into increase of new cases or severity or even a higher number of deaths. On the contrary, what we see is a steady decrease of the number of new cases and the deaths as well, although it's still high, about 600 deaths a day, every day in an average, and 25,000 new cases every day. Just need to remember that it peaked more than 100,000 new cases and more than 4,000 deaths. So it's going on. It's certainly a good result of the vaccination program. About 70% of the adult population have already received at least one shot, and 30% of the whole population is already fully vaccinated. And what we expect is that 100% of the adult population is fully vaccinated to the end of October. And now, mostly, it's being given the second shot, and the interval from the first to the second shot for Pfizer and AstraZeneca's vaccines was shortened from 12 to 8 weeks. The Sinovac vaccine is already 4 weeks, so we expect to achieve this goal soon. Wait one. Okay, PY2BBQ, back to tell you something about our impressions on the Hurricane Idas in United States. I was really impressed. A few days ago, I was watching a tennis match in the U.S. Open in New York, and although the tennis court was in a gymnasium, it was covered. The ventilation openings in the side were enough to get the court wet. So strong was the rain and the wind at that time. That was really impressive. We could see something in the television here in Brazil. And I have special interest on that because, as you know, I use it to coordinate the emergency amateur radio net in São Paulo State, that is linked to the São Paulo State Civilian Defense. And 1 month ago, I was invited to coordinate the National Amateur Radio Emergency Service in Brazil, and we are working hard on that. It would be equivalent to the races in United States, that is linked to FEMA, to the United States Civilian Defense. So, well, here we have mostly local disasters like fire, flooding, dam breaks, but we almost never see a big geographic area with a great disaster as you see in United States related to earthquakes, hurricanes, and so on. So what I can say is good luck for you, and it's a great job. So back to the net control, A4FL, PY2, BBQ.
Okay, Hilton says he's not copying me anymore. I asked a question, Hilton, if you'd heard anything about the Lambda variant. Are you hearing me now? I'm getting your instant message. Are you copying me now?
Oh, yes, just started to copy you now. So please go ahead and ask your question.
Andrew, WJAB had mentioned the Lambda, I believe he said it was the Lambda variant in Colombia. Have you heard anything about that variant or the distribution of variants in other areas of South America? Over.
Okay, now I copied. Let me turn the sound off. Right. Yes, I copied. Asked about the distribution of the Delta variant in South America. Yeah, I just have the information in Brazil, and it's spreading really very quickly, and it's the dominating variant right now. We saw some increase of new cases in Rio de Janeiro, in a time that the social distancing measurements were relaxed, and at the same time there was the Delta variant coming, but that was very localized problem. As a whole, what we see is a decrease in the new cases, and it seems that the vaccines that we are most using here have a good covering over good protection, including the Delta variant. And even if you get the disease, you won't have a severe COVID-19. So I believe that most new cases are not even being counted because of that. Another information is that we will start the booster, the third shot, in the end of this year, as soon as we have 100% of the adult population fully vaccinated. So back to you, A4FL, PY2BBQ.
No other check-ins. For any follow-up questions, I'll make a list now. Go ahead and let me know if you have follow-up comments or follow-up questions, and then we'll start a second round if that's the case. AA4, I'll proceed.
WJAP.
N3IM.
We have two for follow-up. First will be WJB, then N3IM. WJB, AA4FL, proceed.
Okay, I was just going to clarify that. The variant is LU, Mike Uniform. And it's also got a number, A.1.621. And it was noted originally in Colombia in January 2021. And it has now been found in the U.S., South Korea, Japan, and Ecuador, Canada, and a few places in Europe. So about 2,000 cases identified in the U.S. so far. Of course, there may be more because not all the coronavirus cases are gone through the genetic sequencing. Apparently, there's not enough data to say whether it's the same as the original, or less than the original, or more than the original, or nor did they say how it compared to the infectivity of the Delta variant. The article was in the Washington Post, and that was maybe 2 days ago. So back to you, WJAP. Yes, I believe so. I got a whole bunch of pretty recently. I haven't got as many, but I'm pretty sure I'm on the list.
Okay, thank you. I put out a request for submissions. I got 4 or 5 initial submissions, nothing really of much specificity, and I'd appreciate it if there's any way you can put something together. I mean, I certainly can research the genomic monitoring, but certainly like to have some help from other members. It's important to have participation, so it'd be much appreciated if you could, Mayor. Thank you. N3IM, go ahead, Keith.
This is N3IM with A4FL in the group. Yeah, I don't know if Chip's still around or not, but I was just wondering, he's planning on moving or is moving to a new location. I wondered how it made it through the hurricane. Back to you, Jay.
Chip, if you're still with us, if you could respond about your new property, and I'm sure we'd all like to hear about how you fared in general, and in addition those additional properties. N5RTF, AA4FL, go ahead, Chip.
AA4FL in 5 RTF. Yeah. Fortunately, all 3 of our properties did okay. We were most worried about the one out by the water. Normal tides out there are about 2 feet. The storm surge went up about 7.5 feet before the gauge lost power. So don't know what the actual peak was, but we can look at it afterwards and see the water line. The water got within about 3.5 feet of the interior of the house, so it was pretty close. But that's a good benchmark for future storms to know when to leave and when not to. So we're still going to move out there and keep the condo for storms and other emergencies. A couple of comments that I didn't make before. One is just we went for days at a time without even hearing the word COVID, which was a blessing. Count your small blessings. And then also for weather geeks, we got 22.38 inches of rain in one day in 24 hours. That's not the entire event, but just 22.38 inches in 24 hours in 5 RTF.
That's an amazing amount of rain, Chip. And from talking to you on the phone earlier, that's amazing in hearing your description of how well the French Quarter itself did on handling that amount of rain. It's an amazing story in itself to me, but of course, that's not necessarily true of everywhere, but where pumps are at work and being functional, it's certainly of help. Do you have any follow-up comments on how the infrastructure fared?
Well, the Sewage and Water Board gets really good marks for this one. They have 100 pumps and 5 generators, and I think they only had about 2 pumps fail, and I think most of the generators were operational. Even with the energy down, they were able to do the pumping and keep the city dry. As long as the levees don't break, we're probably in pretty good shape from that standpoint. But without power, everything else pretty much grinds to a halt. And there's, I think they can do a lot better in having some properly placed generators to keep just basic services going. As you noted, we lost AT&T was overloaded. We lost phone service too during that thing in 5 RTF.
Well, thank you, Chip. On the positive side to the terrible experiences that one learns from the past and hopefully responds and prepares for the future. That's one positive outcome we can take from it. But regardless, you fared extremely well in the French Quarter compared to others in the area, from what I understand. So, anything they can do to bring the rest of the city up to that level, and certainly having the levees already bolstered to the point of not failing has satisfied the water events that you mentioned with Katrina. Are there any other comments from members before we close the net to control? I'll take a list now. AA4FL. Well, thank you to everyone that joined us today and to the administrators of the QuadNet Array for making not only this wonderful technology available to us, but for also checking in quite often with comments of support and explanation to make it function better functionally for us as a group in the way that we apply the net. Thanks once again to everyone, including and specifically for those that are involved in supporting the net through technological reasons, additional to QuadNet, such as PYU BBQ's YouTube live streaming, and then 5 RTS audio streaming and recordings of the net. They're all three of those aspects of this net really help to frame it in excellence. Thank you once again. Everybody have a wonderful holiday weekend, and we will see everyone next week. This is AA4FL, bringing the net to a close, and thank you for everyone that either stop by to say hello or let us know that you're here listening. AA4FL Clear will be standing by for a few moments for any personal requests. Well, there's no I do have family here from South Florida staying with us, and it's time for me to go play the barbecue chef and take the kids out to see some farms before heading to the Florida game tonight. My daughter happens to be a Florida Atlantic grad, even though she grew up in Gainesville, and that's the opening game for the Gators tonight, Florida Atlantic University here in Gainesville. So be going to an evening football game. 7-3, I'll have a wonderful Labor Day, and we will see you all next week. AA4FL Clear.